Let's take this show on the road. Same-ish, different day. I'll be bored out my mind. Hometown, love my place.
Hey friends, let's dye some yarn. Today we're going to do something really fun. We are actually going to dye some self-striping sock yarn. And you can wind your own yarn to do this. I have a supplier though who makes these. So this is just one long skein of sock yarn. And it is divided into sections. Let's see if we can get one. So here's one section. It is divided into 6 different sections. So we're going to dye this in 6 different colors. But first, as always, we need to soak the yarn. And since I'm only going to do one, I'm actually going to skip the zip tie, which I usually use. And we're going to just soak it in this plastic tub. You can use any size tub you like. Just make sure it's big enough for the yarn to be completely soaked. And make sure you don't use anything that you use for food. I'm going to add just around a tablespoon of citric acid, which is what makes the dye adhere to the yarn. Let me set that aside. And I'm adding a couple of liters of water. I think will be enough to soak this. And I'm just putting the yarn in the tub, pressing it down to make sure it gets completely soaked. And this is a superwash merino fingering weight yarn. There we go. We're going to let that sit for at least half an hour and then we'll be ready to dye. We are getting ready to dye our self-striping yarn. And this will be a hand-painted yarn that I will be setting in the microwave. So I've gone ahead and I have made 6 different colors. We got a yellow, which is Jacquard acid dyed sun yellow. We got a pink, which is pink from Colourcraft. We got a fabulous blue from Dharma in the color Frozen. We have Chartreuse, also Jacquard acid dye. Let me step around to the other side. We have pumpkin orange, also from Jacquard. And last but not least, we have red, fire red even, from Jacquard acid dyes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use these sponge brushes to paint the yarn. We'll see how that goes. Oh, also, each of these buckets contains 4 deciliters of water and a pinch, which is literally what the measurement says. I don't know if you can see that. A pinch. It's 1/16 of a teaspoon of dye in each of these buckets. So I'm going to set up the rest. I have already started to protect my surface, my counter, by putting a black trash bag on top. And I'm going to add on plastic wrapping, and then we'll lay out the yarn on top of that and start painting. There we go. I have put down plastic wrapping underneath the yarn and laid it out so that I can paint it. It's a little bit tight, but we'll try to make do. And each section is marked with ties like this. So here's the section, goes all the way to here. And while I'm painting, I'm not going to go entirely up to this tie off. I'm going to stop centimeter or two ahead of it, because the dye will leak over a little bit. So I'll just let the two dyes leak from either side and meet there. Okay, let's start. So I'm going to start with the lighter color, with the yellow. Just gonna put the bucket down to help it hold the yarn in place. And I'm trying to soak through so that we get dye all the way through all the strands. It's kind of fun. It's like painting a picture. It's actually faster than you think also. Just make sure you don't get as much dye and water so that it starts running over to the strands next to you, the one you're painting. Try to keep it to an amount that will be sucked up by the color you're painting. There we go. Now I'm going to grab some gloves and make sure I got dye everywhere, all through. Okay, let's see. It's a little bit lighter on the other side, so I'm going to bring the dye. So put the bucket down here. There we go. I'm just carefully going to flip it and paint on the other side as well. You can see it's a bit lighter there. There we go. I'm going to switch to the other side. I will have plenty of dye left afterwards to paint more things if I want to. And there we are. That's the yellow. I'm going to rinse my gloves a little so not to contaminate the next color. Excuse me. Alrighty. What's next? Let's do the pink one. It's even lighter than the yellow. So I suppose I could have started with this one. But it did look darker, like a more powerful dye in the bucket. So I chose to hold off on that. Let's see, did I spill a drop here somewhere? Yes, I did. Let's get some tissue. We're good. Try to avoid contaminating the other colors. This will be some mighty pretty socks, I think. There we go. Now we're going to go over and have a look at the back. Oops. Accidentally put some dye on a spot where there shouldn't be. So just be mindful of where you put your brush or your hand. so you don't do the same. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do the joint between the two colors here. And I'm just going to squeeze the yarn on either side. I'll let the colors creep up. We can add a little more pink, maybe. Can dab a little bit of yellow. So. There we go. So I'm going to finish painting everything, and I'll show you what it looks like and how we're going to set it in the microwave. Here we go. All the yarn has been painted, and next we're going to wrap it up and we are going to put it in the microwave. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put plastic wrapping on top of it as well as they are before starting to fold it, because I don't want the colors to contaminate each other. And once I've done that, cover the entire top, I can start folding it into a package that will actually fit inside the microwave. There we go. It is wrapped on top. And if there's one thing you can trust when it comes to plastic wrapping, it is that it will stick to itself as soon as it can, any chance it gets. And we are taking advantage of that, so that the bottom layer of plastic wrapping will stick to the top layer and keep the strands separated even as we heat them in the microwave. So now I'm going to try to wrap this carefully into a package, and we're going to start putting it in the microwave. I will be running it in increments of 2 minutes and then 30 seconds of pause, and then 2 minutes again, for a total of 10 minutes of running time with 30 seconds in between. There we are. One nicely wrapped package of self-strapping yarn, ready to go into the microwave. I just stuffed it in an old ice cream tub to hold it, to make sure that no fluids will escape into the microwave. So let's do that. So this actually went a lot quicker than I expected. I haven't used this microwave that I have now for this before. So I only needed to do 4 minutes total and 30 seconds in between. And the yarn is already so hot I can't even touch it. So I'm just gonna let it sit there now and cool down. And once it's cool, we can rinse it. The yarn has cooled off completely, and it is time to rinse it. So we're going to start by adding some cold water to my plastic container where I rinse my yarn. You can do it directly in the sink if you want, or if you have somewhere else you prefer to do it. I prefer this one. I'm going to be using soap as usual. You can use soap, you can use dish soap or shampoo, whatever you prefer. I like this one. I'm just going to add in a little bit. That should be enough. Now let's see if we can open this package of goods. I'm just going to put it on the bench here. Like I said, the plastic will stick to itself, and even more so when it's hot. I'm just going to sneak this down into my rinsing bowl here. That's it. There we go. Like opening an intricately wrapped Christmas present. There we go. I'm just poking it ever so slightly. Being careful not to tangle it. There we are. Let's see if we can find. This is looking really pretty. I'm just going to squeeze the water out. Look at that. I'm going to set it aside. I'm just going to hang it over the edge just to make it easier to pick it up. And I'm going to rinse it once more. You don't really need to do that with soap, but I like to do it twice. So I'm going to do that. And I really like how this came out. Add a little more water. That should be good. I'm just tucking it in again. Just pushing it gently to rinse it properly. Like so. I'm just squeezing out water. There we are. I'm just squeezing it. I'm not twisting it or wringing it really hard, just squeezing. And there we are. There's our finished yarn. Now I'm going to go hang it to dry, and I'll get back to you when it's all done. This is one of my absolute favorites from this yarn dyeing series. And I am definitely going to make more of this. It is time consuming, but the results is so amazing. I would love to see if you make some self-strapping sock yarn yourself. So tag me if you do. Also tag me if you make self-striping sock yarn and knit with it. I would love to see that as well. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you in the next one.